Draft Mechanic is a proud member of Punchboard Media. Pull up a chair at punchboardmedia.com. Draft Mechanic, Episode 106.
On this very special episode of Draft Mechanic, we learn valuable lessons about, we talk about the Gen Con hype list because it is the Monday before Gen Con, and that is what we do every year. We get really excited about games, and we want to tell you what games we're really excited about, and our Slack channel is very excited about. So sit back, relax, grab a pint, and enjoy the show. But not if you're driving to Gen Con. Don't grab a pint then.
You've seen the future, and it works to take a mile.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Draft Mechanic. I'm Jake.
And I'm Danielle.
And Draft Mechanic is the podcast about board games and craft beer and anything we can do to tie the two together.
Here at Draft Mechanic, we like our beer like we like our board games.
Maybe with a little bit of hype.
At Gen Con. We like it at Gen Con.
Oh, that's much better. That would have been much better. I feel like I've used the with a little bit of hype the last 3 years. But this year, we are definitely on our way to Gen Con. And this is the episode where we're going to talk about Gen Con and things about Gen Con and everything we're excited to do and see at Gen Con. But hey, thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first episode of Draft Mechanic, find us on the internet, draftmechanic.net or at Draft Mechanic on your social medias like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, I guess. Yeah, we're there too.
We also have a Board Game Geek Guild that is guild number 2470, so there will be a thread up for this episode if you want to tell us what you're excited about Gen Con. There is a thread up for every episode, and go there if you have thoughts on what we're talking about.
We also have a Board Game Geek micro badge that you can pick up for Draft Mechanic, and I would like to throw a shout out to our new micro badgers, Jeff McDonald and Matt Stewart. Thank you so much for picking up the micro badge. If you want to show off the micro badge and you don't have the Geek Gold, we have a thread in our guild and where you can jump in there and we will send you 8 or maybe 9 Geek Gold to pick up that micro badge.
You sending people 9 Geek Gold? What kind of chaos is this?
You never know. Maybe somebody needs one extra little Geek Gold just to get them started.
Okay, I don't think you can actually do anything with 1 Geek Gold.
Try not to spend it all in one place.
Okay. If you happen to be in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, we do twice monthly gaming meetups. The first one would have been on Thursday, August 1st at Good Road Cider Works. And technically, I guess it still is, because there's still going to be some gaming there from what we hear. Mm-hmm. But we are not going to be there because we are going to be at Gen Con.
Gen Con!
Let's see how many times we can say Gen Con in this intro.
Gen Con.
Our next official Draft Mechanic sponsored, I guess, meetup is going to be at Tuesday, August 20th at Salud Cerveceria in the No Down neighborhood. So we would love for you to come out there, and we'll be back at Good Road in September.
And who knows what kind of games from Gen Con we'll bring to Salud.
Okay.
Gen Con. Hey, speaking of Gen Con, by the way, did you know we're going in like 2 days?
Oh, dear Lord.
It's coming. But if you are going to Gen Con and you're interested in saying hi, there's 2 good opportunities to say hey to us. The first one, Wednesday, Sun King Brewing is doing their special Gen Con beer release party. It'll be at their beer garden on Georgia Street, 5 p.m. on Wednesday through, when they run out of beer or when they all get kicked out. Through question mark. Their beer this year is called Brewtron 9000. It is a tart golden ale with hibiscus, citrus, and yuzu. That sounds interesting. This is much more interesting than they've done recently.
Yeah, 2 things are a little bit interesting about this to me. One, they didn't do the contest the way they traditionally do. Mm-hmm. Usually they have a contest early in the year to be like, what is the name of the beer going to be? And then they will brew a beer, and that's the name that it has. This year, they picked the name of the beer, and then they asked people to pick the artwork, which I think is way better, because let the people who are making the beer come up with the name, brew the beer they want to brew, and that's what they did with this one. It is inspired by, giant kaiju robot type things, and I do really think that they are stepping out of a comfort zone on this one, because there are a lot of people who are not fans of sour beer, and if you go on Untappd, this is up. Nobody has logged it yet, because it hasn't been released, obviously, but it is under Sour Other. So this is going to be at least a tart beer, and there are people who are not fond of that. I applaud Sun King for making something that sounds really interesting. I love yuzu and stuff. Citrus always is nice because it's always hot. And, Hibiscus Rosa from Rev is a hibiscus beer that we both absolutely love. But, I'm really excited for this for the first time in a bunch of years, but I have a feeling that there's a lot of people who are not going to be drinking this beer, And I kind of applaud Sun King for sticking to their guns and making something that they wanted to make.
Hooray! I'm very excited about it as well. We've had some of their sours in the past, and they've always been good. So I am excited to try Brutron 9000. I did read somewhere, and I wasn't able to confirm this before we got to it, that they were actually going to also bring back one of their older beers. They're going to bring back the Dragon's Delight from Gen Con 50, which was kind of like generic golden beer, golden ale. So
they always bring back stuff at the release party. They always have like either stuff that is available at their brewery but isn't available at the beer garden, or I think they've done previous year's beers. They might have brought back 20-sided rye one time or something like that. They've brought back previous ones in the past. I wouldn't count on them being there all weekend.
Right.
But they might be there on Wednesday, which is the time to check out all the cool stuff that they're going to bring to the release party.
I would really love it if they brought back some Froth of Con. That was so good.
Despite it being really seasonally inappropriate, I agree.
All right, so yeah, if you are going to be there on Wednesday, come meet us there, and I'm sure we're going to wander through there at some point during a lot of evenings because, you know, it's the beer garden. It's kind of where we occasionally hang out. But we will also be kind of doing an impromptu bottle share. If you've met up with us in previous years, we've done this in a hotel lobby, and we will do it in a similar hotel lobby this year.
It's the same hotel lobby.
Yeah, so if you remember that, or if you remember going to a hotel lobby and having beers with us, that's where it will be, and that one will be on Saturday night. We'll probably start at like 9 or 10 o'clock and just have a nice chill bottle share through the evening. We've been talking with friend of the show, Jeff Epner, and he's going to bring some crazy stouts, and I think I'm going to bring some crazy stouts, and we're all going to bring some sours, and just have a nice closing to that for particular festivities.
It's the Courtyard Marriott hotel lobby. We haven't said that yet. It is Saturday. You said what, 9 p.m.?
Yes, let's do Saturday 9. I think that's doable.
It's kind of close, but okay. And that is the Courtyard Marriott lobby in the back corner, sort of hiding from the people who work at the Courtyard Marriott.
Hey, they've been fine with us the last few years, so let's continue just doing that.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. One little bit of game news. It doesn't really tie into Gen Con specifically, but I did want to point out there is the Raiders of the North Sea phone app coming this week from Direwolf Digital. I've actually had a chance to be playing it over the last week or so. I got a preview build of it from them, and it is like super, super slick. It also has a campaign mode in it, which I have not had a chance to dive into yet, just because I've been on the road for work so much and just super busy. But the fact that there's a campaign mode in there is super exciting to me, and I really want to dig into this. Raiders of the North Sea is definitely my favorite of that series of games. You know, I've enjoyed that one a lot. We've played Architects a handful of times, but I really dig Raiders, and they did an amazing job of taking the art of that game and really kind of animating it and bringing it to life. It looks fantastic.
Well, that's cool.
So yeah, be on the lookout for that. I'm sure there'll be more information. We're going to meet up with Direwolf at some point this week and see what else they've got, because they've obviously got their hands in a lot of different pots right now. So yeah, Raiders of the North Sea is coming apparently this week.
Don't put your hands in pots, y'all.
I mean, unless there's cookies or something in the... I don't know. This metaphor is not great. Danielle, please save me by sharing some Kickstarter project updates from last week.
Sure. First, we're going to talk about the Isle of Cats from the City of Games. It completed at $579,337 of its $18,574 goal with 8,168 backers. And it has cats.
Lots. 100 cat meeples.
So cats. And that's very exciting. This was on my excited about list for Gen Con. We're probably not going to be talking about it, I don't think, because we already talked about the Kickstarter. But that is definitely on my list to go check out. See all them cats. Predaporter 3rd Edition from Portal Games completed at $271,186 of its $35,000 goal with 4,864 backers. Dice Hospital Community Care from Alley Cat Games completed at $166,776 of its $15,478 goal with 3,208 backers. Pre-orders are available through the Kickstarter page for that one, by the way. So if you missed the Kickstarter campaign, but you still want to get in on it, you can still pre-order it. Rush MD from Artipia Games is funding currently at $47,927 of its $20,000 goal with 935 backers. This campaign is actually ending on August 6th, which is next Tuesday. Well, I guess a week from the Tuesday after this comes out. And it has 5 stretch goals unlocked so far, including a 3D cardboard ambulance. Which, I mean, I guess after the Dice Hospital thing, saying you get a 3D cardboard ambulance is a little less exciting, but still better than no 3D cardboard ambulance. Mm-hmm. One Small Step from Academy Games is funding at $88,708 of its $20,000 goal with 1,295 backers. This one is also ending on Tuesday, August 6th, so you have time to check that out as well. And Dice Throne Adventures from Roxley Games is funding at $1.1 million of its $80,000 goal with 7,331 backers. This one is ending on Friday, August 9th. That's the 6 turned upside down.
That is exploding. Dice Throne Adventures is going so haywire. I cannot wait to see what their final 48-hour push is going to be like. I would not be surprised to see this one go over 2 million, which is just mammoth and insane for something like this. But then when you get a $360 pledge for all in, I guess it kind of makes a little sense.
They're larger chunks towards the goal, so suddenly.
Oh, yeah. So for new projects, I have 3 of them. One of them kind of requires a little bit of urgency, and this is Chainmail from Presspot Games. It's currently funding at $589 of its $50 goal with 130 backers. This one is ending on Friday, August 2nd, so back it while you're driving up to Gen Con or when you're standing at the gas station. This is an estimated delivery of September of 2019. You can jump in on one of the very limited story writing spots for $2, or you can get the print and play files to run it yourself for $6. So Chainmail is a story writing creative project from Travis Hill. In each of the different backer levels, 10 people will collaboratively write a chain letter story based on a genre and prompts. When you back the Kickstarter project, you're going to sign up for one of the genres. There's like a fantasy, a science fiction, a noir, a romance, and I think a horror is the other one. So you'll be one of the 10 spots in that, and it's going to work that the prompt and these materials will be sent to the first person in the chain, and then once they write 5 to 10 sentences or so, they'll mail it on to the next person in there with the prompts from Travis Hill of what the next part of the story or what questions you have to answer for that next section of the story. So it's going to go through all 10 people. You're creating this kind of collaborative story experience that everybody will get a copy of at the end. There's actually also a backing level just to read all of the stories afterwards, but I am super interested in this. This is such a neat concept and something that nobody is really doing, and it got such a good buzz that all 10 spots for all 5 genres filled up in the first maybe day or so, that they actually opened up a second set of each genre spot. So I think there's maybe like a dozen, maybe 15 spots left across some of the genres. I jumped in on one of the second generation ones of these spots, so I'm going to be involved in one of them as well. But it seems like an awesome project. I super encourage everybody to get on there and take a look at it. And I love the fact that you can just get the materials to do this thing for $6, and then you can make your own kind of storytelling game however you wanted to do it.
Trick is you have to know 10 people's mailing addresses.
Well, you just have to know one, and then they have to know somebody else's.
Fair enough.
But I don't know, does this seem like an interesting idea to you, Dee?
It certainly is very different than almost anything else I can think of. Now, Travis had previously done a sort of a letter writing RPG, but it wasn't actually long distance. It was an in-person thing, correct?
Yes.
So I'm excited to see how, if there is any difference if you are writing and then sending it to another person as opposed to writing with the other person right in the room. Is that going to affect the way that you write your story? Is it going to affect the way that you think about what you're writing? So I'm curious to see how it turns out.
Mm-hmm. I'm super excited, and I encourage everybody to at least take a look at this and see if it's the kind of thing you want to do. And even if it's not the kind of thing you want to do, $2 and then you get 10 stories at the end of it, that's a pretty good deal. So yeah, that is Chainmail. It is on Kickstarter through August 2nd. Up next, I have a game called Chiseled, a Deck-Sculpting game from Copper Frog Games. This one is funding at $4,757 of its $12,500 goal and has 133 backers currently. This one ends on Saturday, August 17th, with an estimated delivery of February 2020. You can back the base game for $25. You can add in the expansion, and then you'll be at $35. And Chiseled is a reverse deck builder that is thematically about sculpting away your block of marble, which is your deck of cards that you start with. You're going to use some tool cards that everybody has access to whittle away scrap cards from your hand each round, while also enhancing sculpted elements like arms or torso or whatever the statue you're doing. And as the game goes on, you're going to be removing all these cards that are negative points and also the ones that are like poor forms or like sculpting errors to basically please art critics that are going to come up occasionally through the game. And this is such an interesting idea to me because we talk so much about deck building games where you're adding in more cards because you want to get more good stuff. But with the exception of, I think, Xenon Profiteer, I don't think I've seen a deck destruction game or deck, culling basically game. And I like the theme of this a lot because the theme really kind of fits what you're doing in this game, and it just really caught my eye.
It does sound really interesting, but the question that jumps to mind for me is, can I make a bird with arms?
I think you're going to be making generic person statue no matter what. But if you want, we can replace the person with bird.
Then we could make a bird with arms.
Yeah.
But joking aside, that does sound like an interesting idea for a game.
Mm-hmm.
So many games you are trying to cull down to a really efficient machine. Here, you're not actually trying to get to the machine, you're just trying to get to the points, and you want to make sure you get rid of all that stuff that in a normal game would be slowing you down, but still somewhat useful. Here, it's just straight up not, it sounds like.
Yeah, it seems like a really neat idea. The other thing about it is you have these tool cards that everybody can access, and once you use it, you flip it over, and nobody can use that tool card again until all of the tools have been used. So it has one of those kind of use all the tools, then refresh them mechanics in there as well. So you're doing a little bit of, action denial to the other players. I think it's a really neat idea, and just a quick search on the internet tells me that Copper Frog will be at Gen Con and will be doing some demos. So if you're interested in checking this out, there are, I think, Friday and Saturday night at 7 p.m. slots to go actually play a game of it, a demo of it. And you can also
like individual gameplay demos as opposed to just being at a booth.
Yep,
Cool.
and you can also reach out to them on Twitter, and they will hopefully be just floating around with the game that you can check it out there as well. So that is Chiseled, a deck sculpting game. Finally, in the new stuff, I have Smartphone Inc. This is coming from Cosmodrome Games, and I guess Arcane Wonders. It doesn't explicitly say that on the website or on the Kickstarter page, but I do know that Arcane Wonders picked this up. It is funding at $175,000 of its $50,000 goal with 2,803 backers. This one ends on August 12th with an estimated delivery of February 2020. You can back the game for $65, and this is an economic Euro game that picked up a lot of hype and steam from Essen, and then it got picked up by Arcane Wonders for US distribution. It's an economic Euro game about smartphone manufacturing and logistics. You probably already know if you like that idea by the words that I've said. Yeah, this is it's a good, heavy Euro game that has been getting a lot of buzz. I don't know anything more about it beyond that because I have not yet played the game, but people have said it is very good mechanics. It's got some innovative things where you're kind of doing this action selection with these two cards that you're laying over top of each other to expose what actions you have available, and then obviously you've got cubes and you're shipping them around the country, and yeah, cubes.
One must always have cubes.
Thematic Euros, they're in right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this from Cosmodrome. They had another game that is actually on my interested, but I wasn't going to talk about it list from Gen Con, which is Skytopia. So
okay.
I'm curious to see what they have, and if maybe this is an exciting game, then I'll be more likely to be more excited about that other game.
There you go. One thing I did notice, and this is worth taking note of, be aware that the shipping to the U.S. is quote-unquote $15 to $20. Apparently, they're not sure what the shipping is yet, but it just says $15 to $20. So you're
probably
putting
stretch goal stuff. Like if there's stretch goal things that they have to put in, it'll make the package heavier.
Possibly. But you're putting $15 to $20 on top of a $65 game that is going to be brought over by a major U.S. distributor here soon. So that is true about Smartphone Inc. All right. I've talked enough. I think it's time for us to move on, and we can talk some more. I guess that really didn't make any sense. Danielle,
this is a podcast.
It's
That's
hype.
what we do.
It's time for some hype.
Want to wear your Draft Mechanic pride to your local brewery, board game meetup, or board game meetup at a brewery? Check out redbubble.com/people/draftmechanic for t-shirts.
Speaking of Draft Mechanic t-shirts, you'll probably see me in one of them almost every day, unless I run out of them, which I actually don't remember if I have 4 or 5 Draft Mechanic t-shirts now. I don't know. If I'm not wearing that, I'll be wearing a Burial shirt, Burial Beer Company shirt, or Burial Beer Company hat. These are the ways that you can find us in the world to say hi, because it's so easy to run into and find people at Gen Con, right?
No. I mean, I will also be wearing a Draft Mechanic t-shirt a couple of the days at least.
Very true.
If not, I'll be the one with a badge that says my name.
So this is our 6th year, I think.
Sounds about right.
Going to Gen Con. We've been going since 2014. And how do you feel about Gen Con now versus like 4 or 5 years ago? Do you feel like you're starting to get a handle on it at all?
Well, that's not really a fair question, because the way I feel about Gen Con is largely changed because of changes that I've made.
Fair.
My first Gen Con, I remember being absolutely overwhelmed by being in that many people. And I still don't love being in that many people, but I don't need to take a minute out to like calm down every couple of hours. So I think I've just gotten used to larger groups of people. I've become a more outgoing person, largely because we spend several hours every couple of weeks talking to people we don't know through the internet. But I have become more comfortable going to Gen Con because I have become more outgoing.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think that Gen Con itself has changed that much. It is still absolutely mobbed. It is as mobbed as it can be based on the fact that they said that 4-day badges sold out. Or
did they?
Or were selling out. They said, I believe it was a day or two ago, that Saturday badges and 4-day badges would have sold out by the end of that day. Now, I didn't go back and check because I don't really care. We have our badges, and I assume everybody listening to this has theirs.
Yeah.
The way I tackle Gen Con has changed a little bit, and that is largely because I went through cycles of booking tons of events or not having any events booked the first year we went. This year I have, I think, 3 things booked, and they are all individual games. I didn't book a bunch of seminars this year like I did a couple of years ago. I wanted to be able to make sure I see everything.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I think obviously the way that we're approaching Gen Con has changed a lot since 2014 because we have a podcast now. So we're specifically going for content as well, which has been an interesting change. You know, as we're going to the point where we're specifically meeting with publishers, we're specifically looking at, new hotness games. We're doing an episode like this, every year now to talk about what we're excited about at Gen Con. It has definitely changed a lot for me there, I think.
Yeah, I felt like this year everybody sort of got their stuff together a little later. Like normally where we would have been getting emails maybe a month or 2 ago from a lot of publishers being like, okay, we're booking meetings. If you'd like to make a meeting, email this person. We'll set you up with a time. We've been getting those a little bit more in the last week or 2.
Yeah, that was really surprising.
So at first I was like, did we anger someone? More accurately, I haven't been to any cons. Did you anger someone?
I didn't anger. I made new friends. I've made new friends.
You did do that. No, I think everybody is just getting into things a little bit later this year, which is fine. I mean, that doesn't affect most people who go. The publishers are still going to have the games. And I'm sure one game that we're going to talk about fairly shortly, the publishers just newly have the games.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that those are the changes in the way that I experience Gen Con. They have less to do with Gen Con itself and more to do with our situation and my personal being. And it sounds like you have some changes.
Yeah, this is the first year, I think this is the year that I've signed up for the least amount of stuff. And actually, this year I've signed up for no game demos formally through the event system. We have a few things here and there. We've got a few publisher meetings we've got to meet up with and stuff like that. But the only thing that I signed up for was the Improv for Gamers class. That is, I think, Thursday at 1. This being done by Karen Twelves, who wrote this book called Improv for Gamers that I've been reading recently. And no, it's Improv for Role Players is the name of the session. But as we've been getting more and more into our 5th edition campaign, I've been really wanting to get, learn more about how I can apply that kind of stuff to RPGs. And I just am really interested to see what that affords me. And I kind of wanted to do something different at Gen Con for once. Also, all of the sandwich puppet making sessions sold out really quickly. So
they sold out this year?
Yeah, I didn't get to make a sandwich puppet this year. Dang it. But in addition to that, I feel like we're more likely to just kind of wander by booths and kind of experience games like that. And I've really been enjoying that kind of serendipity to coming into Gen Con the last year or so.
Okay, so it's the morning of Thursday of Gen Con.
Okay.
And we've all just chanted, do not run, for entirely too long in a large throng of people.
I have to be out there with you this year. They don't have an early access for the press.
Oh, that's right. You haven't done that the last couple of years.
No.
It's the same as it was before. And the door's open. Where are you headed? What is your plan of attack?
I'm kind of torn in 2 ways right now.
Don't be torn in any ways.
I'm going to be torn several different directions. No, the 2 things that are most interesting to me. The number 1 thing that I want to pick up is Las Vegas Royale from Alea Ravensburger, which is the new edition of Las Vegas, the dice game that I've been a huge fan of for a long time. This one is adding a bunch of new content to it. I am really excited to see how the different casino kind of pieces add on, and they change the way that the game plays. There's a lot of just variability to the casinos, which is something we're not used to having in Las Vegas, and that there's never been any variability whatsoever.
If there's not an expansion to this game called With Cheese, I'm going to be really bummed out.
So I'm super excited about that. I know this will be the 3rd copy of Las Vegas that I will have purchased, but I'm going to buy it because it's one of my favorite higher player count games. It's an evergreen title, and this one's adding enough new stuff to it to get me excited.
And we gave one of the copies away to my parents.
Yes, very true. We did do that.
So buying it for a gift I don't think counts.
What's your number 1 dash right out the gates?
My number 1 dash right out the gates is definitely going to be the Quacks of Quedlinburg expansion that is coming from North Star Games, which we have confirmed they are actually going to have. You literally just confirmed it not an hour ago. So that is exciting. I'm excited to have that. I'm hoping people who don't listen to this maybe don't know that they'll have that. Maybe they didn't check up on it.
It's
been
still
listed as demo.
Yeah, still listed as demo, right?
I would love to get that because I love Quacks of Quedlinburg. This brings in some more of those book tiles that are going to give you variability in the game. It gives you new elements. It gives you the herbal witches. I would love to get that. I would love to breathe a little bit more variability into that game, which was already quite variable.
Mm-hmm. I'm super excited about that. I also am kind of like, inexplicably, the last 1 or 2 years that I've gotten in early with the press pass, I've wandered over by the North Star Games booth when all of that is going on, like right when everybody's coming in. So to actually be on the other side of it for once is going to be kind of fun. So Bruce, good luck. We believe in you.
Yeah, North Star's always right up at the front of one of those aisles, so they have a first-person view of everybody running in right there. Mm-hmm. My tactics are usually a little different than yours, and I know this works out really well for us, but it gives me a little bit of space that first day. I usually start all the way over in the entrepreneur section, which is all the way to the right if you're looking at it on a map. That's like row 3000 or something like that. And I work my way back towards the center where more the major publishers are. Mm-hmm. I like to be able to see all of the smaller games either before they sell out or before everybody is overwhelmed with folks. Most people are excited about something, so they're going to go towards the publisher that is selling the game that they're excited about or towards a publisher that is debuting something that they really want to see. Whereas if you go over towards the games that people aren't necessarily as knowledgeable about, you get to see some really neat things. And having walked through that space again on later days, I'm always really happy that I started there because it's a lot easier at the very beginning to walk up and down those aisles and see exactly what people want you to see once they've got everything set up and it's not been picked through by thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Very true.
Also, the big name games, if I don't get to see them at Gen Con, I'll get to see them again. Like, yeah. I'm not going to not see what Renegade has coming out. I'm not going to not see what every Asmodee company under the sun has coming out. Corinth is going to be available. I don't need to see the new Days of Wonder game. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be able to see it. But this company that I've never heard of, I may not ever see that game again. Yeah. So I'm more excited to see the little thing. Last year, I bought a game about cats moving on washi tape. I had not seen that game anywhere else again. I've not heard about it other than just to chat about it with people having seen it myself. But that's the kind of thing that I want to see right at the beginning of Gen Con. That's the thing that gets me excited to spend 4 days in this giant room full of games and 70,000 people.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to go there right after North Star.
I was just going to send you to North Star to see Bruce.
But I have 2 places I have to go.
Okay,
I am torn in 2 directions. So the other direction that I'm going to be torn in is, believe it or not, that giant Asmodee booth that you were just talking about, because Asmodee has Pearl Games, and Pearl Games has a game called Black Angel, which checks all the boxes for Jake. It is a science fiction game. It has Ian O'Toole artwork. It is a game with dice in it, and it's a 60 to 120 minute Euro game where you are AI manning the lab. Your AI robots that are staffing the first intergalactic frigate in history that is taking humanity to a new world. This is literally the things that I am most excited about, I'm pretty sure.
Boats, yeah?
It is boats in space. So I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about how the game plays, except for the fact that I remember reading the rulebook a while ago, and I'm like, yep, that's my alley. So I'm looking at this, and this is going to be the other thing that I'm going to head straight towards. It is going to be in that giant Asmodee conglomerate of sales, so I'm sure that there's going to be 1 or 10 other things in there that I'm going to be like, oh, well, maybe that one too. But
and they are selling it. It's not just a demo.
It is for sale. I'm sorry. It is for sale.
No, that's fine. I was also stating that as a fact.
Oh, yeah. Black Angel is for sale. I will probably be picking up a copy of that. So I'm excited about that.
Okay.
What else you got?
Next up, I want to talk about 1001 Odysseys, which is something I think I talked about in our Gen Con wrap-up, the episode that will be coming out next week, but last year, if that makes any sense. We do nightly recordings with ourselves and our buddy Shane, who comes to Gen Con with us every year, at the end of every night, and we put them together, and it'll be out sometime the Monday after Gen Con once Jake wakes up and edits it all back together. But I remember seeing 1001 Odysseys because I was in the Asmodee room playing the One Deck Galaxy game that they are still, I think, demoing this year.
Yes, it is for demo.
But I saw 1001 Odysseys, and the art is absolutely adorable, and it's a storytelling game. And I was like, I do like a storytelling game, especially an adorable one. And this was something that we actually talked about in Kickstarter sometime over the last year. But I want to see what they have going on there. I want to see more of it, because when I saw it last year, it was literally just, I walked by a table of other people playing it. They were already full up. I couldn't get in on it. So I've seen what the Kickstarter told me, but I want to see in person what else they've got. So that is really exciting to me.
Yeah, this is something I've been watching as well. I'm a backer of this. I had a chance to poke at it at PAX Unplugged, not to play it, but just kind of look at the whole setup, the way it works, and it is super, super high on my list as well. This could be a huge breakout title next year, so I'm so excited to get this played.
If you don't know what 1001 Odysseys is, by the way, it's essentially a choose-your-own-adventure. They said there are 4 books that are coming in the base game, and when you play through the game, depending on where you are and what you're trying to do, you will read a paragraph, and it's going to change every time you do it because the circumstances that you have will change every time. It feels a little bit like Tales of the Arabian Nights, just reading it to me, but definitely in space, so that's good for you, right? You love space.
Big fan of space over here.
I like the turnip thing that they have, that is their little mascot guy, but it is a choose-your-own-adventure storytelling game, and that is way up my alley. I love it, and I want to see it.
Yeah, and from what I've learned about this, it is the kind of game where your campaign is going to be over, a course of dozens of hours, but each session will be 30 to 60 minutes for that particular section of the story. And the world it takes place in is this kind of Miyazaki-inspired space exploration, kind of exploring crazy, wild new worlds, meeting new species and stuff like that. The art for it is all in this just gorgeous watercolor. So I would encourage everybody to go online and check out 1001 Odysseys as well. I know we're going to be swinging by that booth a lot.
You also don't have to play each of the books with the same group, so there is an option to switch it up. I know campaigns can be really tricky for a lot of people, getting everybody to come back over and over and over again, but at least there is more of an option to switch stuff up on this one.
Oh, and that is Asmadi Games, and they'll be at booth 2455. I guess I should mention some booth numbers here and there. I'll just do it every now and then.
Okay, North Star is going to be at 2309 and 2435.
Asmodee is going to be in booths 1 through 9000.
Yeah, they're going to be in the middle of the room.
Asmodee is Asmodee. You know where they are. Oh, and booth 2111 for Alea Ravensburger to pick up that Las Vegas Royale if you want to. But don't buy the copy before I get there, because we will have a fight. We won't fight, but,
I won't be in a fight with you.
I'll glare a little bit. Moving on, Danielle, I have very excite for a set of items that I could probably pick up at Renegade Games, and this is the Bargain Quest base game, expansion, and ton of extra content.
I was going to say one expansion?
Well, there's one main expansion, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional expansions. So Bargain Quest I talked about back in January after going to the Gaming Hoopla. This is a game of RPG shop management where you are playing item cards into your shop window to attract some people into your shops.
Just to be clear, it is not an RPG. You are managing shops for RPG characters.
Yes, you do not actually have to play any roles in this, other than the role of shopkeeper, but you don't have to... let's move on. So anyway, you put an item in your window to attract some heroes into your shop. You sell them your goods. You hope that they don't die, because if they don't die, they bring you back more money. But if they do die, it doesn't matter because you already got their money. Bargain Quest was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing it. I want to play more of it, and I want to play all its expansion content. The new fancy release is the Black Market expansion, which adds in, obviously some underhanded stuff where you can do with your goods to get sneaky goods in sneaky ways.
This is also been somewhat unavailable in the past, right? It was originally put out by a small publisher, and then this is getting picked up by somebody a little bit bigger, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, this was a self-published title, and Renegade Games picked it up.
Oh, okay, that
Renegade
makes sense. You did just say that.
Yeah. So they'll be at booth 2201. I wanted to pick this up at Origins, but it didn't make it to Origins, so it was just like a week or a few days late for Origins. But it'll be at Gen Con, so that is Bargain Quest.
As it turns out, you've been traveling since Origins, so it wouldn't really have mattered.
No, it would not. Well, there is a solo mode expansion, so there is that.
You can bring all, 6 expansions with you?
Bring everything.
All right. Speaking of expansions, I'm really excited to play the new Sagrada The Great Facades Passion expansion.
Yeah.
They have 3 of these The Great Facades expansions, which go with the facades of the Sagrada Familia Cathedral. The cathedral has the birth, the passion, and I believe it's called either the bliss or the glory. This is going to be the Same with the expansions. They're going to have a life, a passion, and a glory expansion. And it's going to add more dice. It's just going to add more to Sagrada, which is always fun to see what they can throw into a very, very simple game. Mm-hmm. That makes it really nice to have these expansions where you can add just one more step. Do you want to play with the one that they've already put out? That's cool. You can play with 5 and 6 players with that one. Or maybe you can try this passion one. Maybe you can try the life one when that comes out afterwards. But I want to see what this one brings to the table because Sagrada is amazing. I actually just played it at a game night, either the last game night or the one before that. And it is still just as fun and just as thinky and just as good a time as I remember it being when we were playing it every week. And it sort of went by the wayside because everybody's like, okay, we played that a bunch. Let's see what else is new. But going back to it, I'm still jazzed to find out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and related to Sagrada, Broken Token is putting out their Sagrada box insert to obviously, do all the great things that Broken Token already does. And this box insert is already pre-planned for the content that they have for the next 2 expansions.
Oh, nice. So you'll be able to get all of those great facades in there.
Mm-hmm. They worked with Floodgate to work it out so that this box insert will work for you as they continue to develop the Sagrada line. I was super excited to hear about this last week.
Floodgate is at $249, by the way.
All right. It's on that early row like they've always been.
Mm-hmm.
I like going back over there. It's a fun spot.
Yep.
My next Super Excite title is one that I have had a chance to play because our friend Bert brought back from Germany. That is Imhotep the Duel, or Das Duel, if you want to get serious about it.
I don't.
So this is a 2-player version of Imhotep where you are, drafting boat pieces and getting all that stuff and collecting tiles and scoring. And that was the worst explanation I've ever done for a game of Imhotep. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's fair.
But yeah, it's a 2-player game where you have this kind of tic-tac-toe 3x3 board in the center where you're going to be placing your workers, and then on each of the horizontal and vertical rows there's a boat at the end with some tiles on it. You get to choose to either place a worker or ship one of the boats out. When you ship the boat out, the workers in that particular row or column will dictate who gets the tiles. You're going to then put the tiles on your personal board that will either, you are growing your obelisk or your pyramids, or you're collecting them for raw points, or I think there's one that's a burial chamber, and all of these are double-sided, so there's all sorts of additional scoring options that you can do there. But like I said, I had a chance to play this. I think actually we played it like twice in a row at one of our game nights a while back, and it is just phenomenal. So good. One of the best 2-player small box games that I've played in a long time. This is up there with like Patchwork, Lost Cities, and Targi for me going forward.
It sounds from your description very much like a 2-player distilled-down version of Imhotep, which I'm not sure is a thing that I wanted, but if it is something that you wanted, I'm excited to see that they did a good job of making what is really an interactive game work for 2 players. But yeah, I think I like Imhotep better with like 4, maybe even 5 players. I think the expansion lets you play with 5.
Yeah, this definitely is not completely different, but it's different enough mechanically to fill that space. And I would rather play this than a 2-player game of regular Imhotep for sure.
Oh yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah,
why would you do that?
But every decision in this is super tight, and I'm getting this. This is awesome. I'm actually probably going to pick up a copy for Tamara, our friend local as well, because she's very excited about this and all Imhoteps.
She likes boats.
It's good enough to have 2 copies in our game group because I could see an opportunity that 2 different people would want to be playing this at the same time at one of our game nights. I guess 4.
4 different people.
2 people want to play it, and 2 people got roped into it.
Oh.
You're getting roped into it.
Yeah, I was going to say, which one am I?
Yeah, Imhotep the Duel. You can get that at the Cosmos booth 1649.
Next up is a game that is actually one of the games that I got to sign up for an event for. Ooh. I said I only signed up for 3 events this year, and this is one of them. It is a game called Mechanica, and this is coming from Resonim Games. And this is a game about building, essentially, Roombas. You're building cleaning robots to not at all take over the world. Definitely not take over the world.
Probably not.
Just make things very, very clean. And in this game, you are buying machine tiles to put into your factories, and they'll either let you make more robots or make better robots, make robots that do different things. And you are trying to make not only the most and best robots, you are essentially trying to play this larger game on top of the tile placement game to make the best cleaning robots. And I'm really excited about it. The art is absolutely adorable. If you look at it, it's got these little smiling, happy, chibi-looking robots on the front of this very nice orange box. So, right up my alley. But it also sounds really interesting. I love tile placement. I love sort of that machine building mechanic that they're doing. But I like that it's not a really simple game. It looks like it could be a little bit more of a thinker. So I'm excited to play it and find out if I want to buy it, but I'm really glad that I got in on this one.
I feel like I remember seeing this go through Kickstarter, and like I was kicking myself afterwards not bringing it up on the show because it looks super cute. And I think like you're using the box in some way in the game as well, which is always, fun and interesting to see people do new stuff like that. Is that what I'm thinking of? Do you remember?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, I remember something else, but this one also came up and they are adorable.
This is only for demo, by the way, and it is at booth 1803.
Next one that I want to bring up is something we've talked about in the past on Kickstarter previews, and this is one that we actually got to look at briefly last year at Gen Con. It is called The Artemis Project, and this is coming from Grand Gamers Guild. This is, we talked about it on Kickstarter, we talked about it at Gen Con last year. It's a, resource collection Euro game that has a really awesome dice placement mechanic where you are using your dice as workers to go to the different areas of the board and take actions, but you can slide your lower number dice earlier into the action train and then take whatever number of actions first before other players. So maybe if you go to this resource generation spot and you put a 5 down and you're like, I really need 5 of this resource, somebody else can come in and swoop in and play a lower number there, and they take a few of that resource beforehand, meaning that if there isn't enough when it gets to you, you're out of luck.
So this is the board game version of when you let somebody with only 2 items go ahead of you at the grocery store?
Yes, it is exactly 100% only. No, that is very funny, and I like that a lot. But yeah, Artemis Project is something I've had my eye on for a while. It was in limited quantities at Geekway to the West and also at Origins. He was able to airship over maybe 20 or 50 copies for those 2 conventions, but he says he's got, the full stock is here and ready to rock. So I highly encourage everybody to go check out Artemis Project. That's something that I am super excited to get to the table in the near future. You can find Grand Gamers Guild at 2108.
And that one is for sale.
Yeah. Oh, and while you're there, you can go pick up Shikoku that we talked about 1 or 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, you should get that. That's such a good game.
That would be on my hype list, except we already have it, so I don't need to get hyped about it specifically.
I feel like we should mention that. We don't have on either of our lists games that we have already played or own.
Yes.
So if you're looking for stuff that we've already talked about, you're going to have to go back to the episode that we talked about it in, because otherwise these lists would be absolutely huge, and you don't need that.
Forcing you to go back and listen to Draft Mechanic. We got you. We got you good. Danielle, what you got next?
I'm going to talk about something that I'm sure is on your list, because it's also on my list, and that is the Decrypto expansion called Laser Drive.
That is definitely 2 items away from where I wanted to talk about.
Sorry, we're going to talk about it now.
Yo,
That's
I'm
coming
all for
from
it.
Le Scorpion Mask, and it is going to be for sale. It is obviously an expansion to Decrypto, the base game, which is a party game where you're trying to get your team to guess the order of the words from your selection of words by giving them really obtuse clues so the other team can't guess the order of the clues that you're trying to give. It makes more sense if you play the game.
It's freaking great.
You're essentially going to be giving your team clues to indicate one of the words that they can see, and if the other team can guess it, then they are able to get one of the 2 points that are needed to intercept and win the game. Laser Drive is adding a couple of new components. One of them is going to be these category cards, which one is going to be flipped over every round, and at least one of the clues that you give must fulfill that category. And they may be things like movie titles, but they may also be like starts with the letter A. Those are 2 of the examples that they gave. And if all of your clues fall into that category, then you're going to get one of these laser drive tokens, these red laser tokens. And if you have 2 red laser tokens, you can turn them in to try and guess what one of the other team's words is. And if you do, you get one of those white tokens that you need to win the game. Again, you need 2 of those to win the game, so that's a pretty good call. I love this because one of the things about this game that used to frustrate me is when we would play it, we'd definitely know what at least one of the other team's words were. But that didn't help because you had to know what the whole series was in order to intercept the message. So if I know 1 or 2 of your words, but those aren't necessarily in the sequence, like maybe one of them's not in the sequence and I don't know what the other 2 are, I'm not going to be able to get the tokens. Here, if you have been able to give clues efficiently, then you can use that information and try and win by guessing what the other person's words are, which is cool to me. I am a little worried, though, because the way that you get these tokens is by giving very specific types of clues, and the part of this game that was already the long part of this game was getting somebody to give the clues, because they're going to sit there and try to think of a clue that is really good, but won't give the other people an idea of what the actual word is. And now you're making that longer by A, giving specific types of clues, and B, penalizing the team if the other team knows what your word is. So I have a feeling it might drag out that clue giving part, which is not what this game needs, but I like how it helps the guessing part.
I am super excited about it. I've always really liked Crypto. I just have a hard time getting everybody to play it with me. So I'm hoping that this adds a little bit of spice and variety that will get people to enjoy bringing it back to the table. I'm really hoping this doesn't make the thinking part a lot longer, like you said, because that would be just a nail in the coffin right there. And I don't want that, because I like Crypto, and I want this expansion to be great too.
The Scorpion Mask is at $129.
There you go. Next up, I'm actually going to do a twofer, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
2 games from our buddies over at Board and Dice that are being released, or rather 1.5 games, because one's a game, the other one's an expansion.
Okay, well that makes sense.
So Board and Dice, they are going to be at booth 2535, and they will first have the expansion for Teotihuacan called the Late Pre-Classic Period, which, like I said in our 2018 Redux, I was a big fan of Teotihuacan. I enjoyed playing it. I'm going to play it more, and then we're going to add this expansion in there to add some more exciting stuff. It's a modular expansion. It's got a bunch of new options like asymmetrical player powers. You've got a 4th temple to unlock permanent powerful abilities. This one here says new engineering techniques, and there's so many words in here that I'm sure will make a lot more sense once we get more comfortable with Teotihuacan. Our friend Will Foy has already pre-ordered this, and he is very excited for it. I am not surprised.
Yeah, I'm excited about the existence of this. I don't think it's something that we need quite yet. Since
we do need to start playing Teotihuacan, yeah.
But I am excited that they got an expansion out for this, and it does look like it's going to add more content to a game that already had lots going on.
The other one that they are releasing at Gen Con is called Sierra West, and this is something that's been kind of bubbling up for the last 6 months or so as it's been getting more and more hype. I guess a lot of people have been having a chance to play this over, in Essen and then Origins, so on and so forth. I didn't get a chance to, which is a bummer. But it is got an interesting take on action selection and kind of a worker placement thing where you're actually kind of building your own action board with these multi-use cards that you're going to be kind of cascading under and around each other and sliding up under your player board. It's got like a nice little cutout thing where you're sliding cards up underneath. Kind of like how La Granja had that thing where you slide the cards up underneath and they become spaces like that.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a thing like that. But the other thing that's interesting is it includes 4 different modules that include different variations on the way the game plays. There's a Apple Hill, a Gold Rush, of boats and banjos, and outlaws and outposts. So I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot more about it than that, except for the fact that I have heard a lot of very good things about Sierra West. I trust Board and Dice, and they're good buds, so I want to play this game.
And it looks like it's got a solo mode coming too.
Oh, yeah.
David Turchi.
Yep. So that is going to be at Board and Dice's booth 2535.
I am excited about 2 little card games that are coming from Thundergriff Games. If you have listened to our podcast in the past, I don't remember if I talked about this on the hype list, but I know it's definitely something we've talked about before. The little Thundergriff card games are always a surprise and a delight to me. Pot de Vent, which was, I think, on my top games of 2018 list, or maybe of 2017.
It was up there.
It was whatever year it came out, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And they have 2 of their little small white box games coming out this year. One of them is actually not white, it is blue. But they have Rolling Ranch, which is a roll and write where you are trying to reclaim your animals from the forest after a hurricane destroyed all of the fences in your farm. Now, we're not going to talk about why you built your farm in a hurricane zone. Let's pretend it was a tornado. But something has destroyed all of your fences, and your animals have gotten away. But you're sure that once you fix the fences, the animals will be in the forest, and you are going to get them back and be the best reclaimer of your animals, I guess. I'm not going to lie, the original reason why I looked at this, beyond the fact that it was a Thundergriff Games small box game, is that the art is by Weberson Santiago. Which
there we go.
I absolutely love Weberson's art. Unfortunately, this is a roll and write game, so he did the box cover, which is adorable. I love the pig on the box cover. The guy is holding his animals as he reclaims them, but there's not a whole lot of art inside. There's a little bit of graphic design, but that's what originally got me excited about this. And then I looked at it and I was like, okay, that's kind of a fun theme. I want to see what it is. It's a tiny roll and write. We've played how many roll and writes before? I feel like we've got some good perspective. So
roughly 1 million.
I want to see what this one is. It also looks like it has sort of the thing that Harvest Dice has, where you draw very odd little shapes to indicate which animals you are putting in your pens. The other game that is coming from Thundergriff Games is a game called Hats. And this is a set collection game where what you take affects the value of what you have. I was excited about this, like I said, all the Thundergriff games I'm going to look at. But became really more excited about this listening to Brandon Kempf from Opinionated Gamers talk about it. This was one of his 3 games that he pre-ordered for Gen Con just before he had anything else done. He doesn't get a lot of games at this point, so I was like, okay, if Brandon was willing to bring this into his collection, and I believe he got it because W. Eric Martin from Board Game Geek had talked very well about it. So I'm excited to see what this is. You have a hand of, or a tableau of cards, and you are trying to take your cards and trade them to affect the value of what you have in front of you. You can pass cards to either a draw pile or your partner if you're playing in a 4-player game, but it didn't seem like your partner was on your team. It was just the person that you trade the cards to. And you are trying to get what you have to be valuable based on the cards which are in the middle. And I wanted to see what it was. It sounds like a really interesting type of game where you have to be very aware of what everybody else is doing. Something like Arboretum, where you can't just focus on your own tableau of cards, because if you do, you're going to miss that what you're doing is suddenly going to become completely useless once somebody else takes their turn. So I am excited to see both Rolling Ranch and Hats from Thundergriff Games.
Hats. I'm excited about that as well, because we get to go to Thundergriff Games, and they have a lot of cool stuff. Who knows what else we will see?
We know.
Who knows what else we will see? What booth number is that?
Oh, sorry. That is at booth number 2919.
Ooh, that's in that Entrepreneurs Alley area.
Yeah, they're always over in that area, and another reason for me to head over there right away, because it means I get to see those games and hopefully pick them up.
We'll see ya.
Actually, I think those are still available for pre-order on BGG as of the Sunday when we are recording this.
Ooh, that pre-order system is pretty neat. I didn't use it, but I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, if stuff is still up, I might still, but...
Yeah, absolutely. You should. Maybe we'll take a quick break and you can take a look at that.
Okay.
In Reavers of Midgard, the second standalone installment in the Champions of Midgard universe, you'll be taking your clan beyond your own borders on your never-ending quest for glory.
Each player has a single worker they will place each round, determining one of the actions all players will take, and of course, gaining the strongest version of it for themselves. But be aware of your fellow Vikings, since you get to take a version of the action they select.
Use the powerful Reaver cards to recruit crew members, and then to rally additional crew to lead your troops or to specialize in one of your actions, increasing its benefits when either you or another player chooses it.
Bring territories into your empire, raid keeps and villages, pillage farms, walls, or towers, or even fight sea battles against ships and serpents alike. You can use guaranteed resources you know you have, or take a chance with the dice and hope the favor of the gods is on your side.
In the end, only the clan with the most glory will triumph in Reavers of Midgard from Grey Fox Games.
Grey Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted.
All right, I'm going to come back from the break with one of the ones that I am most interested to demo and learn more about. This is not available, and it is actually going to be going on Kickstarter the Tuesday after Gen Con, and this is called Sleeping Gods. It is the new game from Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games, and it looks like it's going to be massive.
Now, I have to correct you there. It is a new game from Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games. He has
fine.
2 new games at Gen Con.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, Rome, I think, is the other one. That also does exist, but Sleeping Gods is like the new.
Cool.
It is one of these big box games in the line of Near and Far, Above and Below, Islebound, City of Iron, so on and so forth. But it looks like what he is doing is he is taking what he learned from Near and Far and putting it into a giant, sprawling kind of long-form campaign game. So you have the storybook, you have the Spiral-bound storybook and the Spiral-bound Atlas, and you're going to be campaign exploring this unknown world as a sea captain crew.
Longer than Near and Far was?
It looks like it's going to be some serious stuff.
Oh, dear.
Let's see what it says. Playing time, 60 to 840 minutes. How's that feel for you?
Can you math that for me real quick?
840.
How many hours is that?
I can't do math. You know this. It's a bunch. It's more than 10 and less than 20 hours.
You're not wrong, but
Yeah.
also not helpful.
So let's see, reading from the BGG page here, you and a friend become Captain Sophie Odessa and her crew, lost in a strange world in 1929 on your steamship, the Manticore. You must work together to survive, explore exotic islands, meeting new characters, and seeking out the totems of the gods so that you can return home. Campaign play, each session lasts as long as you want it to. When you want to take a break, you just mark your progress on a journey log. You can play it solo or with a friend. It looks like it's just 1 or 2 players, but it is easy to swap players in and out at will. And you have to find 14 totems hidden throughout the world. You're going to complete it 1 or 2 hours at a time and play through one of these giant spiral-bound atlases that represent each page is just a small portion of the world, so on and so forth. And, like, yeah, come on, I'm 100% in. You sold me with Near and Far what you can do with one of these games, and now Ryan Lockett is moving into the 7th continent territory of Sprawl.
Yeah,
And
I was going to say...
I can't wait.
I'm more positive that it'll get played based on the fact that it's only 1 or 2 players, so it can just be a thing that you and I do or just you do. But seeing what happened to 7th Continent, where we just absolutely got swamped with other stuff and that we really essentially have to restart it, even though we are both still very excited about it, that's a lot. It's 14 hours, by the way. I did the math, because cell phones have calculators on them.
Yeah. But I'm so excited, and this one goes on Kickstarter right after Gen Con, and I will book it. I mean, I will back it immediately. Says I'm in for whatever this is.
Take the money?
And, I mean, take the money and walk away, smiling. But if you are interested to see more about that, you can go check out Sleeping Gods at 2659. They will be doing demos, which is cool. So maybe I will be going to 2659 and camping out under Ryan Lockett's table.
They will be selling Rome there, by the way, I believe.
Oh, yeah. And that one looks good as well. I think I remember looking at it back when it was on Kickstarter. It's kind of like a 2-player card-playing thingy.
Oh, no, that's also a demo.
That's also a demo?
I was reading a spreadsheet badly.
I see. Sleeping Gods, Red Raven. Check it out.
Okay, I have another expansion to talk about. Because that's apparently what I'm doing at this point.
Expandicons.
I'm talking about Downforce Wild Ride.
Oh, yes!
It is a new board, a new double-sided board for Downforce, coming from Restoration Games, obviously. And it is going to add, obviously, 2 new mechanics to the possibilities of Downforce.
There's a ramp.
There are ramps, and there is also a safari, essentially.
But there's a ramp.
There is a ramp, yes.
I'm so excited.
And the one side is a ramp, and the other side is a herd of animals that get in the way, obviously, because you don't want to drive your car into animals ever.
Jump over them with the ramp.
The other side, you can't be both on the animal and the ramp side.
Please just let me use my ramp.
But the thing about the animals, the not ramp side, is that when a car passes them, they move, so that they are always going to be more trouble for the people in the front than the people in the back. So
They move.
I don't think it's that kind of animals, but
it's not
yes,
cows?
I don't think so. But Downforce is obviously a great game. Downforce having new boards is always a great thing because you don't play with more than one of them. So it's just, what cool, fun thing do you want to add to your Downforce today? What flavor of Downforce would you like?
Ramp.
You would like ramp flavored.
Ramp
I mean, that
flavors.
actually works because ramp is a food.
Oh, well, fine. I want ramp flavoring.
So your Downforce is going to be slightly oniony.
Meow.
That is going to be available for demo at Restoration Games, which is at booth 355.
Yo, I'm so excited that Restoration is continuing to do Downforce stuff. Like, I know they've got all these new other exciting things, like
It's printing
Fireball
money.
Island.
Why would they not?
Dark Tower, and whatever the heck the next thing. They're going to announce some giant big thing this year, too, which is, what a surprise at this point that they're going to bring back. What do you think? What's the crazy game that they could bring back that everybody would freak out about? I think, like, that Omega Virus is one that everybody's always clamoring about.
Everybody likes that one.
Yeah.
I thought they already announced. No, they announced Dark Tower.
Dark
It's
Tower.
another one of those talking
Yeah,
games.
it's going to be something like that.
I want
Who
them to
knows?
bring back 13 Dead End Drive, and I want it to actually work because my
Ooh.
copy never did.
Like, that seems like the kind of thing that they would jump at. So maybe, who knows? Restoration knows, but we don't know.
But realistically, Downforce boards
With a
are.
ramp!
You just have to design the boards, and then they're not a lot of components. You don't have to worry about, like, little miniatures. How many miniatures do we need to make? Are they going to be droopy? Are they going to be cool? No, you make a board. You make a board, and everybody buys the board because it's a good game, and it needs a new board sometimes.
Good job, Restoration.
You need to get that ramp flavored Downforce.
I'm going to need some of that Downforce soon. I want to talk about another game that is something I'm surprised I'm talking about.
Me too.
Yeah, you're quite surprised about this.
No,
I
I'm
just clicked
surprised
over,
we're talking about it.
I just clicked over to it on the tab. What I'm saying is from Calliope Games, this is Suro Phoenix Rising. Now, this one was actually on Kickstarter a while back, and we kind of both looked at it and we're like, meh, Suro, whatever. Because we've played base Suro, and it's fine. I have a version on my phone that's great and, does exactly what I needed to do. It's beautiful, like three-dimensional, all this stuff. One of the first, really good 3D board game apps that I can remember, the Suro app. Anyway, Calliope Games will be at booth 1901, and Suro Phoenix Rising is way different than I thought it was.
Are you not moving along paths?
You are moving along paths. Okay, so it's not that different, but it's different in a lot of different ways. I had a chance to kind of briefly look at the preview copy of this when I was at Origins. I was just kind of walking through a food court, and Chris Leader from Calliope Games was there. He had it, and I walk up, I'm like, hang on, is that Phoenix Rising? And he's like, yeah, come on, look at it. So you have this kind of board that you're placing your tiles in, and first of all, the tiles are going to flip as you go across them. In addition to just having the straight on-off on the sides, there's also diagonals on the advanced versions of the tiles. And this one, instead of being a survival last person remaining on the board game, you are actually attempting to collect items on the board. So it's kind of... you remember we played Laser Riders, the game where you're the light cycles and you're trying to, collect the different gems or whatever.
Yes, I recall it.
Kind of like that in a Suro world, but if you ever do run off the side of the board, you can Phoenix and come back onto the board again. And I just find the changes that they've made in Phoenix Rising from base Suro or even the Suro of the Seas that has the storms or whatever it was, there's enough in this that makes me really interested and want to play it. So it adds, some really cool new stuff. I'll bring up a picture of this, and you can see this board real quick.
Pictures great in this audio medium.
Danielle can see this picture if it ever loads, but it's kind of like a plastic tray that you're putting all the tiles in, and then the game board is going to build out as you go, and you've got these empty spaces around the outside. You're going to add more in, and I'm really excited about it, and it's the kind of thing that I didn't expect to be excited about, but after seeing it at Origins, it's shooting way up high on my list of stuff to look at for Gen Con. So yeah, that is Suro Phoenix Rising at Calliope Games booth 1901.
Okay, that can be on your assignments.
Okay, I'll do that one. Promise.
The next thing I want to talk about is kind of a cheat, because I'm not actually super excited about the games, but I'm kind of interested to go look at them and see the process that went into them. This is the Brainwave series that's coming from Cosmos.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a series of, they're at least releasing 3, because those are the 3 that they're going to have for sale at Gen Con. The Astute Goose, the Brilliant Boar, and the Wise Whale. And the object is for the game to actually develop episodic memory. They worked with neuroscientists and the game designers together so that these games could actually help you with your episodic memory. They look like very, very simple games, so I'm not probably going to pick up copies of them, but I would love to talk to the folks at Cosmos and be like, what did you do to get these games? How are they helpful? What is the science? That kind of stuff is interesting to me. I was a psych major. I have lots of useless psych degrees, but I would like to know how these games got developed, because I think that's going to be very interesting. And if they're going to continue it, if maybe they're going to bring out other things in this Brainwave series that will develop other kinds of neural processes. So that is something that I'm interested in, and I think was different enough from a lot of games that I wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Now, Cosmos has a lot of interesting stuff. Something that's been on our radar is the Adventure Games, which is their new kind of escape room-ish series to complement the Exit games. Now, the Adventure Games, the first 2 are called Monochrome Inc. and The Dungeon, and both of these are narrative puzzle games, unlike the Exit games where you're, manipulating pieces and you're on a timer and you're solving all puzzles and stuff like that. The Adventure Games are more of kind of I get kind of a Legacy of Dragonholt vibe off of it, in that you're adventuring through it, and there's no timer, there's no, complicated scoring system or something. They're just adventure, choose your own adventure, kind of work your way through this story kind of games. And both of these are up for demo. I know that we're really interested in both of those just to see what they're like, and I'm hoping to see more about those at booth 1649 as well.
Yeah.
With those and Imhotep the Duel, and also I think Roll for Adventure is one of theirs as well. It seems like Cosmos has got a lot going on this Gen Con, so I would really encourage people swinging by 1649 early to check that out. Mm-hmm. One that I am interested in, and this is kind of that lighter party game style game, it is a game called Medium. This is coming from Greater Than Games and also Storm Chaser Games. Their Storm Chaser Games is the studio, Greater Than Games is publishing it. But this is a party game of saying the same word. You and another player start off with a hand of cards, and you're going to pick a card that's got a word on it. Some of the items that they have here are like banjo, tropical, short, Bigfoot, or picnic. And everybody's going to play, or each player is going to play a card, and then both players are going to count down from 3 with the goal of saying whatever word it is that links those 2 words. And then if you get it right, you feel very good about yourself. Kind of in that party game that like Just One or something fits right now.
Yeah. Now, this game is sort of a mind-ready type game, which is not something I generally like, because obviously you're trying to figure out what the other person is going to say, and similar to the mind. But there are clues. There are things that you can try to connect. And I think this is going to have a fun element. Actually, an activity that a friend of mine and I used to do a lot when we were in high school and early in college is just play catchphrase in 2-player catchphrase. And this feels like it will have all the fun parts of playing catchphrase with 2 people, because you're trying to get your brain into the same zone. And, you know, I still have a laugh when I'm thinking about her trying to get me to say ink and saying, what's in a pen? And I said pigs, because my brain just went a completely different direction with that. And I have a feeling that a lot of the same type of thing is going to happen in Medium, where it seems obvious to Jake that the connection between these 2 words is whatever, X. But to me, it's Y. It's somewhere down the road and far, far away from X. And when we say those things at the same time, we're going to look at each other and be like, "What? Why would you? How did you get there? What is wrong with you?" But it is also the kind of thing that I want to see it in action before I buy it, because it could not be the kind of thing our group particularly likes. Sometimes these really light party mind-reading games don't really work in our group, so I want to see what it is.
Yeah, and there's also an expansion called Second Sight that will be available that adds in new words, and then also some extra special power cards. I don't really understand how you add powers to this game, but I guess they found a way to do it, so good for them. Yeah, while you're over at booth 1241 checking that out, please also go look at the Legends of Sleepy Hollow game, which is coming along quite well and hopefully should be delivering by the end of this year. And this is new from Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, and obviously Dice Hate Me Studios with Greater Than Games. It is, you know, giant campaign kind of Ichabod Crane horror dungeon crawly thing that it just looks awesome and has cool miniatures, and I like it.
They're also going to have homebrewers over there, which we have talked about at length before we did a Kickstarter preview of that. If you liked Brewcrafters, Homebrewers is a very different game, but it is equally quality. Actually, I think I like it a little bit better. And it is a fun game about being in a homebrew club and trying to brew the best crazy beers.
Yeah, that will be for sale for $40 at the Greater Than Games booth as well. Nice. And if we're really lucky, ours will show up before we leave for Gen Con. I'm super, super hoping so.
Didn't you say it was like due in the day after we leave?
It's due on Wednesday.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Whatever.
All right, what else you got?
I have a group of games, and I'm excited about one of them, and I don't know which one it is. I want to go look at both of them and see which is the better game about being a Parisian painter.
Okay.
We have 2 games coming out this year that are in that theory, or in that vein, rather. We have Atelier, the painter studio, which is coming out from AEG, and that is for sale. And we have The Colors of Paris, which is coming out from Super Meeple, and that is also for sale.
Super Meeple.
Both of these you are going to be collecting and mixing paints to try to paint paintings to be the best painter in all of the game, I guess. I mean, you're theoretically to be the best painter in all of the land, but, you know, it's just the game. But they do sound very similar. I mean, if anything, it sounds like maybe the Super Meeple one has a little bit more involved beyond just painting the individual paintings, but I want to look at both of those and see how they compare and which one, because I like the theme, but I don't know which one I want. So I guess that's a thing that I'm excited to figure out. Which painter game I think is better. Which
paint do you want?
So just to state the booth numbers for those, the Colors of Paris booth for Super Meeple is going to be at 3065. That's the Luma Games booth. And AEG, other than being just like a big AEG thing right in the middle that they always are, is going to be at 701 and 803, which I'm guessing if their setups have been like they were in the last couple of years, those will be right across from each other.
Word. Cool.
So right in the front, in that sort of left corner.
A few items that I would encourage everybody to stop by, and these are publishers that we know and have talked to in the past, but I want everybody to swing by Event Hall B and go over to visit Elf Creek Games. They will have prototype, actually probably almost finished copies of Atlantis Rising, which I've talked about at length this year so far. Cooperative game where you are trying to get people off of the island of Atlantis before it sinks. It's a really awesome worker placement and kind of risk assessment cooperative game that I really, really dig. And they also have their next upcoming game called Honey Buzz, which is a economic game of honey bee production, not producing bees, but producing honey and, pollinating flowers and all that good fun stuff. But that one will also be available for demo in Event Hall B, wherever Elf Creek Games ends up. Go hit up their Twitter and you'll find it that way.
Nice.
So that's exciting, and I'm excited about them. And bees in general are fun. I also feel I would be neglectful if I didn't tell you that Grey Fox Games will have copies of Reavers of Midgard for sale. They're also going to have their new social sloth title Gem Hens for sale. But from what I have heard from Grey Fox, they will have a collection of Reavers that they are going to be doing, some a day over Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you are interested in getting that and you didn't back it, you're going to want to go to that booth early on any of those days. Because from what I have heard, it is a very good game that people want to play very badly. Mm-hmm. And the art is very, very good. So Grey Fox Games will be at booth, 2801.
All right. Well, as is usually the case, I'm out of things that I want to talk about. That was what I was super excited about. I'm sure there are lots of other games there. I had, I think, 87 games on my list of things that I at least wanted to check out. Mm-hmm. But those are the ones that I wanted to specifically talk about in our Hype List episode. But you, as usual, are more hype than I.
I am a hyped man.
So continue your hype train,
all right,
sir.
I'll go real quick through a few things. Over in booth 1813, you're going to find Blue Orange Games. They have Slide Quest, which is kind of a spin on the classic Labyrinth. Not like the slidey blocks Labyrinth, but the one where you're kind of turning the dials and rolling the marble through the board with all the holes in it. Do you remember this at all?
I have no idea.
Am I the only one that played
about.
Labyrinth when I was a kid? Anyway, so Slide Quest, similar kind of thing where you're fantasy themed for kids, sliding these little meeple pieces around a board and hoping that they don't fall down holes because then they can't finish their quest. They're also going to have Planet, which is your giant D12 dodecahedron that you're slapping magnets onto to grow your planet however you want, which is also available at Target, and I almost picked it up today but did not.
Slap them magnets.
CGE has Letter Jam up in their rooms 237 and 239. This is, people are talking a lot about this. It got a lot of buzz over at the UK Games Expo, and people were all about it at Origins. It is a, kind of $20 word game that is getting a lot of excitement. So I'm going to obviously look through and poke at that.
Love a word game.
Let's see. There's an expansion for Baron Park coming out called The Bad News Bears, which is hilarious, and everybody should go look at that. Booth 1819. I don't know. Do you have any interest in having an expansion to Baron Park? We still have it. We've thought about getting rid of Baron Park a bunch of times, and it still hasn't happened. So I feel like we should probably try it again and maybe play with that expansion.
That's 100% on you that we haven't gotten rid of it. So no, I'm not really excited about it. While I do think the Bad News Bears is a fun name for an expansion, not my bag.
And I guess the last thing I would say, and this is something that I would generally not have included except for the fact that I love this game and I love this publisher, Formal Ferret Games will have 4 copies of High Rise to demo with. And if you don't go play a demo of High Rise or find out when you can over at booth 542, which is the Formal Ferret Games booth, then you've done bad, because this game should get more attention and needs to get more attention. Everybody go play High Rise. It's freaking great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is he going to have the new standee pieces?
Oh, yeah. He actually, when I was at Origins, they had a new copy that had, updated art and the updated board. It looks so good. It turned out so good with these standees. I missed the puzzle or the little 3D printed pieces, but having those standees really makes the board look awesome.
Cool.
So, High Rise, go check out Formal Ferret, booth 542. That's that. All right, I'm out of hype briefly, but I think some people in our Slack had some hype, so maybe we'll take a quick break and come back with their thoughts.
Sounds good.
Let's do this. Want a second opinion on some of the games we talked about on this episode? Check out some other great content creators at punchboardmedia.com. As we've done in the past, we are going to end this episode with a final round. And in this particular final round, we asked our Slack channel what they're most excited about with Gen Con this year. We have received some answers, and we're going to share them with you now. But if you want to get in on a final round, you can always join our Slack channel, draftmechanic.net/Slack, or just go to the website and click the button that says Slack, and then click the thing that says Get It Here, and then you're here, and then you've come in, and you can tell us about the beers you had in Asheville when you visited Asheville.
I feel like you're calling somebody out there.
Hey, MJ, we're really glad that you went to Asheville and went to Burial on our recommendation, because Burial Beer Company is great, and you're great too. Danielle, you want to start us off with the particular final round items this year?
Sure.
Jeez. Oh, I need to take a break.
Okay. Paul and Bowden said, Dune from Gale Force 9, and I'd like a status update on the Yellow King RPG, maybe Black Angel, which you talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah, I mean, keeping it simple and succinct. It's probably better to have a shorter list going into a convention like this.
Everybody's wallet agrees.
Sorry. BJ from Board Game Gumbo, or Mr. from Board Game Gumbo, to you. He says, on my to-buy list, I have Watergate and Empires of the North, which is the Imperial Settlers spin-off. On my list of must-demos, La Stanza and the Taverns of Tiefenthal, which is the new Wolfgang Warsch game that Northstar will have demos of. We're also very excited about that. We did not put that in the list yet because I knew I would get to say it here.
I'm definitely going to be looking at La Stanza as well. Anything that Quinted has coming out, I'm going to take a look at. They've got something else, Terra Mare coming out.
That is Terra Mara. It actually comes up right here. BJ also says, I want to play Sierra West by Johnny Pack and Borden Dice. Some unusual twists on worker placement and a cool Old West theme. Terra Mara from Quinted Games, there it is. It would probably be a must-buy if it was out. Medium from Greater Than Games, the next party game of the con. Tribes from Cosmos, getting a lot of good pre-con buzz. Fluttering Souls from Joel Lewis. Small box card game with pretty artwork will also be there. And Scouts from Talon Strike Studios has a cool theme for anybody who likes the outdoors and artwork reminiscent a bit of Root.
Ooh.
Root.
Fiona from the Game Shelf said, sadly no Gen Con for us because we live in the UK, but I'm most excited for Letter Jam from CGE. It's a fantastic cooperative game, which I think will fit right in with Codenames into Crypto as party games that gamers want to play.
Check.
Well, that's awesome.
I'm in.
I mean, you said that it got a lot of good buzz at UK Games Expo, so there's Fiona saying that you are not a liar.
The official buzz. Will Foy says Teotihuacan, late classic period, and Sagrada the Great Facades, the Passion expansion. Also hats from Thundergriff, It, Evil Below for demo, and only because the novel is one of the creepiest things ever, perfect tie-in with the films if they can execute. Dreams of Tomorrow from Weird Giraffe Games, and Noctiluca. Yeah.
Oh, Noctiluca is the one where it's about jellyfish.
Is
where,
it?
Yeah, when the certain time of month these jellyfish come out and you have to catch the jellyfish and sell them to like the medicine folks. That was on my short list, but not one of the ones I ended up talking about. But it does look really interesting. It's got lots of iridescent dice in it. You'll like it.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go look at that. Well, Noctiluca is on my to-do list.
And yeah, Will is a giant Shem Phillips fanboy, so that's why he's all about that.
Oh, okay.
Danny Doherty says, I'm not really cool enough to keep up with the hype or the hotness, but I am curious to see more specifics out for Starfarers of Catan reprint. I've got lots of friends who aren't gamers, but always enjoy a round of Catan, and I'm always excited to have cool new ways to make those plays slightly more gamey. That's awesome, and Danny, you're cool.
Yeah.
Being up on the Gen Con hype probably is not a defining factor for being cool.
No, you don't want to be this. Don't be at the level that I am of caring about Gen Con. Don't be this hyped unless you have to be. And you don't have to be. Ugh.
Why don't you finish this up?
We're almost there, Danielle. We're almost done with Gen Con.
No, we're not.
Jeff says, my If I Was There list, expansions, and expansions. I would be in for Teotihuacan, Welcome to Spirit Island, and Dice Hospital expansions. And games I would try or buy would be Era, Floor Plan, Empires of the North, Fire in the Library, and Sierra West. Oh, and add another, Sleeping Gods from Red Raven Games. Yes, Sleeping Gods. Just gonna camp up under that table until Ryan Lockett turns his back and take that game.
Please don't get thrown out.
I probably won't get thrown out for that. Yeah, no. I mean, let's just end this one, get everything packed up, and go to Gen Con. Yeah?
Okay, that's essentially what's going to happen.
All right, everybody. Once again, if you are going to Gen Con, we would love to see you on Wednesday at the Sun King Brewery beer release where they're releasing, was it Brewtron 9000?
Yep.
Their tart, funky ale that we're hopefully going to enjoy a whole lot.
Tart golden with hibiscus, citra, and yuzu.
That's why you're in charge of thinking. Yeah, so that'll be 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. or until they kick us out at the Sun King Beer Garden on Georgia Street. We will be there. We will be hanging out and having a beer and hopefully seeing you there. Also, Saturday night, we've got our secret bottle share in the Courtyard Marriott lobby, which will kind of make sure that it's not secret. It'll be 9 or 10-ish on Saturday. We'll be the people in the corner with the beer, having beer in a hotel lobby. Oh, boy. But you can always find information on that or send a message to us on the Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at draftmechanic, or go to draftmechanic.net because that's a place that we use. You can send us an email, draftmechanic@gmail.com if you really want to. I don't know why you would want to. Social media is a lot quicker, so do that.
We also have Board Game Geek Guild. That is guild number 2470. Again, our next local game night is not going to be technically on August the 1st. There will be a meetup at Good Road Cider Works. We won't be there, so y'all have fun. But the next one we are going to be at is going to be August 20th at Salud Cerveceria.
Yes. Draft Mechanic is sponsored by Grey Fox Games. Visit greyfoxgames.com and sign up for their newsletter for the latest. Grey Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted. Don't forget you can buy Reavers of Midgard if you go to their booth right when the halls open at Gen Con, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You should get Reavers. Yeah. Danielle, as we are packing for Gen Con, there is one thing that I definitely don't want to forget, but I can't remember what it is. So could you hit me with those sweet, sweet words?
As always, I would like to remind our listeners to please game responsibly. And that includes at Gen Con. You need to be able to game responsibly even if you're walking. So we will see you back here in 1 week for another round with our Gen Con wrap-up.
Yeah. All right. See you at Gen Con, everybody.
Night.
Good night. Draft Mechanic episode 106 was recorded on, I don't remember what day it is. What day is this? Sunday, July 28th, 2019 in front of a live studio cat. Whew, just barely got that in.
Beauty is in your eyes, you are the beholder. You render me stricken. Do not go gently into that good light.
Hey, Board Gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with more Louisiana flavor. Ton Michien. We love talking board games. That's why we started up Gumbo Live, the #1 Facebook live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Each week, we interview guests from your hobby, publishers, designers, content creators, and you get to ask them whatever you like. It's a live show. So join us at Board Game Gumbo on Facebook every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central for another episode of Gumbo Live. And until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Punchboard Media.
Where we all
Bring something to
The table.
pull up a chair at
punchboardmedia.com.